Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the Service Learning presentations for Spring 2020. This has certainly been an interesting semester for us, but we have definitely tapped into our Maverick spirit, and we have continued on. Our presentations are online today due to the events related to COVID, but again, we are continuing on, and you guys have finished well, and I'm excited to celebrate your work today. We have presentations related to several of our partners. Today we'll start with the two groups related to Arlington Public Library. Then we'll move to Brighter Bites, two groups with City of Arlington, Community for Permanent Supported Housing, Cowtown Marathon, Dreamweavers Foundation, and then we'll wrap up with two groups from Hope Tutoring. I also want to take a quick minute just to say thank you very much to our community partners. We could not have done any of this work without you. We know this has been a stressful semester for you as well, given the events within our country and our world, and so we thank you for bearing with us and for helping the students to put together some really unique and interesting presentations and projects. Okay, with that, I will slide us over to Arlington Public Library, group number 1. So when you guys are ready, take it away.
Oh my god, this is weird. Okay. I'm Madison Pickard. I'm the project manager for this project. Project this semester was originally, we were supposed to identify apartment complexes or churches that might be suitable sites for learning centers through the Arlington Public Library. But after we met with Bethany Fort at the library, she informed us that there wasn't really that much data that would help us have a substantial project for this semester. So she suggested that we did, instead of apartment complexes or churches, we did laundromats around the Arlington area, which I think was a really cool way to add a unique element to our project. So a learning center basically is just a way for younger kids before they enter kindergarten to have some extra help when it comes to simple motor skills like speech and grammar and even communication skills. What's so important about the Arlington area having these is that there's a lot of disadvantaged children below the age of 5 that would benefit from these, because whether it's from them living in a single parent household or living below poverty or anything that would have like a disadvantage to them not getting the adequate or like solid foundation at home before they enter kindergarten would qualify them to use these learning centers to help with that. If the learning centers were established, there would be there would be kids who would benefit from it, because if not, they would just be sat in front of a TV the whole day. And yeah.
So how we conducted our research is we analyzed 3 factors to determine like what the locations of the city were our prime targets, just like figuring out where we were needed most, where the service projects were, which were single parent households, which is like the most likely where children were needed these resources, poverty and below poverty like households, which less fortunate, less like not as high of an income, and most importantly, households with children under the age of 5, where these resources are most needed. And we just came to realize like this is where they need like the help, the outreach the most. We found 3 areas of Arlington that aligned with what we were looking for, and those areas were census tracts 1220, 1131, and 1217. We calculated that these household 3 tracts have an average of 7% of children under the age of 5, 14% are single parent households, and 19% are below the poverty line, which with an additional 21% near poverty, which was very telling. Like, I didn't realize there was that much in the city of Arlington, so that gave a lot of like new and opening information to our research and what we were looking for.
So my name is Anna Caballero, and I was one of the data analysts, and we found 3 laundromats that we could use suitable as the learning center sites. And so the first one was was on track 1131, and then the second one was Washland for track 1221, and Angie's laundromat for track 1217. And so we found that these laundromats were suitable because they were conveniently located in or like near each track. And so we found that the people that were around these areas could definitely benefit from these learning centers. And so what we learned from this experience is that a lot of people don't have the same benefits or privileges as we do, especially in education. And we found it integral that if we placed learning sites within the laundromats, the kids could start at a young age. And research has actually shown that learning at a young age can help them retain information a lot more quickly. And so adding the learning centers in the laundromats will make it convenient and efficient for families.
Okay, great job, team. You guys found some really interesting information for your partner, and I think you also learned quite a bit about just the Arlington community and you know how. And I think some of your data will be very influential on the library, maybe making some decisions moving forward, and putting some of those learning centers in laundromats where people go every day would be really helpful for the students. And for the younger folks going into school. So I think you guys did a really great job. Very meaningful presentation. Anybody have any questions for that group before we move on? And please do mute your phones. If you are presenting, if you could put your phones on silent, that would be super helpful. Okay, so next up we have our second group with Arlington Public Library. So when you guys are ready, take it away.
I'm part of the Arlington Public Library, and working for our, I'm sorry. So my name is Mary. I'm Joffrey, Robert Diamos, Gabrielle Diamos, and Laura Billing. And we conducted a research study for area, which is to the Fab Lab, and it's on the second floor of the UTA lab, and it's express activity and engagement thinking and interesting and software the community. So we were asked to track how many people went into the makerspace area to use it. Well, hours, so the open hours, and our public interests were all the people into the makerspace area. So any like aspiring professional, average or beginner artists, anybody that always or any or people that rented it to use it. So we found that our parameter interests were between October 19 and January 20, and we conducted and expanded to see which foot traffic, what time slot traffic, and which time were which I guess what times the equipment was for use of the base, and found that the biggest experience is the most traffic around 6 p.m. time. So that's the best time they should market people using makerspace and hold progress. Then around this time period, then on Thursday is the highest or the relative frequency of people going in and just being around the makerspace and visiting and enjoying like its properties. And between the time frame from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., the live experience the highest frequency of people and equipment, or just people around the time that the makerspace is open. So this is a time where they can get people to come look at it, check it out, and just market it and have it more useful for community. So based on the frequencies, we found that usage that was common was Thursdays or 6 p.m. The equipment checkout was during 12 p.m. time slot, and for another week. So they need to take a break from working in between like 6 p.m. to that they close. And we also learned that the equipment was checked out, that the usage of the equipment should be like off all these times. So we conclude that there is evidence that there's limited time slots of 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. is significantly less than 2.11. So our recommendation would be to hold classes on time slots and day and weekends, so that the makerspace as a great place for people to do it and conduct their artistry. Thank you.
Great job, Cameron and team. I think y'all also were able to provide some meaningful feedback to the library about the usage of the makerspace. That lab has been a really neat addition to the library and is used quite frequently. And I think it's really interesting to see when it's used the most and how productive their equipment has been to the general public. So you guys did a really great job. And it sounds like you have a very busy household, so.
For sure.
Yeah, really great job. Any questions for this group, you guys? Thank you, Cameron. Really great job, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, so next up we have Brighter Bites.
Hello, my name is Jason Maxwell, and I teamed up with Ava, Alondra, Melanie, and Jenny to help Rider Bites in trying to maximize their outreach for the resources that they had. All right, so Rider Bites, what they do is they go around and they look for underprivileged students, specifically at certain schools, but they're also trying to spread that out. And what they do is they will, for students that are on free or reduced lunch, they will pass out boxes filled with food that someone who comes from a underprivileged household might not ever even get to try, but that might be really good for them or like just really taste good. And what they want to do is try to get it to where kids get exposed to a bunch of different types of healthy foods so that as they grow older, they will know those foods and have access and have that knowledge of like how to eat healthy. So they also go over nutrition, like they have general nutrition classes for the students, and that's what Rider Bites does. Okay, so what we did to try to see if they were maximizing their outreach is we all right, so we would compare schools that were in the Rider Bites program to schools that weren't, and we would use the free or reduced lunch. We would see how many what the percentage of students was in schools that would have them, and compare them to the ones that were already in the program. And we would just try to see if maybe they should try to add another school or maybe go to a different school. And so this graph compares the low-income percentage in the zip codes not visited. And it can be immediately seen that the majority have high low-income rate, with one being an outlier. This is just a slide going over some of the data, and it's separated by, you can see they separated the zip codes. This is one that they've not gone to. We also got p-values for ethnicity. We included that into the comparison. So what we found, these are the schools that we ended up recommending to get put on the program. And we also added the zip codes here. And so what we did was we just took these p-values and we compared it to the p-value of what Rider Bites was using.
Okay, great job, Jason. So basically, you guys compared the percentages of the students in those areas that were eligible for free lunch and the percentage of low income, and then you found these lists of schools that had high percentages of those populations of students, and so that's your recommendation for where Rider Bites should expand, right?
Yes.
Yes, no, I think that's very meaningful to them. I know they were looking to expand their territory. They're mostly in Dallas ISD, right?
Yes, they're in Dallas and then school districts around Dallas.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I know they were looking to expand, and they provide meaningful nutrition to students with their resources, and so this will give them definitely some ideas on where to expand. So really great job, team.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Very meaningful presentation. All right, so City of Arlington, who's presenting for this group? And I'll make you the presenter.
Okay. I'm Michelle Samano. I'm one of the diplomats for the City of Arlington's rideshare VIA. Okay, so VIA service is basically a ride-sharing transportation system which utilizes smartphones to provide transportation service with no set route or schedule. So VIA is like an app on the phone you can download on your phone, and you can then request like a shared ride with somebody. It's more cost effective because like the fee is only $3, and the average ride share per day has been growing exponentially. Oh, and it also provides like wheelchair access, and for those who request the wheelchair access, they'll actually pick them up like directly in front of their door. So our population of interest is like the average amount of people using rideshare during the weekdays. They actually don't provide their services on Sundays because for many reasons, just to give like the riders a break and a day off basically, because they run throughout the whole week. So like here on this graph we have the average rides taken, and these are all like the data, like all the numbers of people taking rides, the shared rides using VIA each weekday. So here we have more like the averages on each weekday. So as you can see here, it's much less on Saturday. And this is from December 11th, 2017 to very recently, February 22nd, 2020. So we found that like most rides occurred during the weekdays as opposed to Saturdays. That might be because 53% of people using VIA use it for work and school. We've also seen through heat maps that a lot of UTA students and high schoolers that go to Arlington High School use VIA. So the weekly average, or like the average for the weekdays, there's 26,974 rides per week. So we've also found that it's growing exponentially. So I feel like for VIA, it'd be very beneficial to maybe expand the area of location, like for providing VIA. Right now, they don't really pass the Arlington entertainment area, like where Six Flags and Hurricane Harbor is, and where the Tarrant County College Southwest campus. They don't really provide it out of those boundaries, but they could expand it since so many people are starting to use it. It's also very beneficial for people who either don't have a good, well-paying job, or they don't have as much money to like drive every day. We found that people earning $34,999 annually and less make up 46% of VIA riders. So it'd be very beneficial for those people who aren't as who are underprivileged.
Great job, team. You put together some meaningful figures for VIA and for the city of Arlington. I think your recommendation of expanding is definitely a good one. Really great job. All right, next up we have our second group with City of Arlington.
Hello guys, I am Ivana Rana. I was part of the City of Arlington. Our project was to do a survey in order to determine how many people within the City of Arlington actually know or use VIA.
Hello. So VIA is a transportation that first publicly used in New York City, I believe so. And this can be very beneficial and cheap for those who didn't have money, like for buses and like Uber and stuff like that. And VA can be special because it's an app-based system. So like you can use $3 and can go almost anywhere in Arlington. And so our population of interest is UTA community and students and faculty and staff. The parameter of the interest is the city of Arlington itself. Yeah.
Okay, so for our statistics and data, our survey kind of had different questions debating their annual income or their car ownership as well as age. Okay, yeah, sorry guys. So basically from what we obtained in data on car ownership, more than like about 3/4 of the people that actually answered the survey, we noticed that they own cars. As well as most of them did have an income less than $20,000 a year. And our predictions were pretty much made that since UTA is a commute school, a lot of them would end up having cars, which would allow them for them to transfer from wherever they were to UTA. For explanation data, as I said, the largest percentage of users did make less than $20,000 a year. We kind of predicted that most of them, from our age and everything, most of them were students that had more money. Our highest amount of money did have the lowest percentage as well, just based on those were mostly like the faculty and professors. So also the majority of the people that took the survey do own the vehicle, and we believe that the small percentage that said that did not own a vehicle or anything like that were either students who live within campus or were able to carpool or were just brought to school. For our conclusion, for our population of interest, we did it mostly as well just within the UTA community, and we noticed about 50% did not know about VIA or hadn't used it before, which was very uncommon within the UTA people, just because most of them were like community people who come from like Fort Worth and places like that, and they had pretty much a stable income as well as a car. From our learning experiences, we learned that pretty much the majority of people nowadays do not use transportation anymore. For me, it was a really big learning experience based on Arlington, just because I am from Austin and over here we see buses all the time, so it's pretty common for us. But in Arlington, I do realize that most people do have their own car and do not depend on public transportation. We were also able to learn how to use statistics to just provide, by just using a sample of the population in order to create a bigger prediction of how things are done. And we also learned that cities, instead of going through every single person within the population, they only send us there to a specific part of the community within the Arlington in order to make a bigger decision on what the community needs. Thank you.
Great job, you guys. So do you think, as you were saying, that, because over 20,000 people are using, the VIA rideshare weekly, so that's a pretty, big chunk of the community. So do you think that people are not using it as much as like your, comparison to Austin, just simply because Arlington has not had public transportation? So I know VIA has only been around since 2017, and it was kind of one of the first attempts to create public transportation in Arlington. So do you think maybe just the system itself is why we're still seeing a lower percentage of participation?
Yes, I think the system is one of the reasons, as well as I believe that most people, whenever they think about public transportation, they mostly think about like the trains or mostly the buses. And I believe since Arlington uses vans, they're not as familiar with that. And it's not like you go and you just stand at a bus stop to get picked up. It's more like an app-based service. So I feel like that's kind of like the reason that it's kind of low still and that people know more about it. But I feel like the more people start seeing the vans and know what they actually are, the increase of like using VIA in order for transportation would go up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You know, it's not the same as riding the train or the bus, right, for your typical forms of public transportation. So I think that's a really valid observation. Really good job, team. And I think you're right. I think VIA rideshare will continue to increase as a form of public transportation in Arlington. So great job. Any questions for that team? Okay, next up we have Community for Permanent Supported Housing.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Teresa, and let me introduce my teammates. So we have Maddie, Frankie, Nathan, Dara, and Kevin. You'll be aware that I use their nickname a lot because we are a really close group and very noisy group too. Our community partner is Community for Permanent Supported Housing. So, am I allowed to? Okay, there we go. Okay, so in this project, we have the honors of working with the Community for Permanent Supported Housing. This organization is a non-profit organization that helps disabled persons in numerous North Texas counties to find a housing service as well as social service that is best suitable for their needs. So the mission statement that this organization operates by is to create housing options, obviously, with the North Texas community for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and challenges, regardless of IQ, and educational services for these adults and their families to encourage independent living. Move on to the methods. So our group, thanks to the non-stop email between our group and Miss Jackie Sylvie, she is the community, I think she's like a manager or something of the organization, and she helped us to finalize the questionnaire that we can ask in our survey. So we sent out the survey to the UTA community, so students, staff, instructors, to answer our question about if they have sibling with disability. And these questions shows if people were aware of this organization and whether or not they knew about the resources that we provide, and we in our organization provided. The information that we sent out to people were able to be bridge the gap between them and the resources that they would possibly need, but they might not know about that before. So we were able to survey these participants through this questionnaire and able to meet the necessary information we need for our community partner. The next part will be the results and graph, and I will let my genius but savage Frankie to do this. So Frankie, hello.
Hello guys. I am one of the data analysts for my group. As you can see from the results right here, we picked out, I guess, 5 of the 10 questions that we thought were maybe one of the more important ones, you know. Have you ever heard of the Community for Permanent Supported Housing? Only 3 of the 11 participants said yes, they knew something about it, and the rest, the other 8 said no. So what that really says is that, you know, this organization is out there, but with people
who may not have any kind of disability, or maybe who doesn't know anybody with a disability, they're not really aware of it. That is where that question is right now. Question 2, do you know that the community of permanent supported housing is a resource for people with disabilities to find community-based housing? 2 of them, yes. The other 9, no. The resources that any disability facility does, they're very good for people who actually need them, and this is one of those organizations that is there to help these people. It's there. It wants to help to whoever needs it. Question number 6: are you expecting to become the guardian of your sibling in the future? 0 said yes. 7 of the 11 said no. Possibly one of the reasons a lot of the participants said no. When you are dealing with a person with a disability, no matter what it is, and you do not have the proper training for that, it could be very stressful. A lot of emotions could come out. There could be a lot of abuse happening when people do not know what they're doing. So with facilities like this, with organizations like this, they're there to basically help these families with the disabled family member or friend. That's why they're there. Question number 8: would you like to receive more information about the community for permanent supported housing? 11 answered in total. Only 1 said yes, the others no. That's completely in their right. Some might not need all the information. Maybe they have information for another facility. Maybe they just don't want it in general, And the other is, are you 18 years or older? We did this survey at UTA with those students faculty. Only 11 answered, and these are the results for it. Next slide, please, Teresa.
Yes, sir.
And these are the results for what we asked. Are participants familiar or unfamiliar with CPSH? 27% are familiar with it. The other 73% are unfamiliar with it. That right there tells us that yes, people are familiar with it, but maybe they don't have a lot of information about that. What we try to do with this project is, again, try to bridge that gap between the organization and people in the community. Tell them, yes, this organization is out there. Yes, they are here to help. If you have somebody that is disabled and needs extra help, they are there for you. The other draft, I can't really see that well what it says, but there is, again, a large percentage of. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot see. Thank you, right there. We want assistance. If you are becoming a guardian, which experts would you want assistance from to make lifelong decisions for your sibling? Again, 75% said were not applicable. This possibility is maybe they want to make maybe family members want to make the decisions on their own. Maybe they don't know enough information on what to do when dealing with a disabled family member and putting them in a facility like this, or maybe they have some sort of idea and they would go to medical and therapeutic And behavior services, that's one of the options right there, or social services. Those two services are very good with disabled people, and again, they are there to help. That's why they're there. That's why they were created for this. That's it, Teresa. Teresa, you can go to the next slide now.
Okay, sure. Let me zoom out. Okay, so for the conclusion, throughout this project, we had the opportunity to work with our community partner and to create a questionnaire or a survey to determine whether most of the UT Arlington students, faculty, and staff who had participated and are familiar with the community group organization. But sadly, that we don't get that many results back just because of the COVID-19. So we couldn't send out the survey as we planned at the beginning, but that's okay. I think on the bright side, we got some back, and we know that people still need information about the community. So now we have a chance to actually talk to them and say, hey, our UTA need more information. So hopefully in the future, more people will know about their organization that we work with right now. And I hope that with this survey, we're able to provide more insight of this program to our UTA community. And hopefully they will able to find more information they need. And I also sent out the link to them in the survey, and if they need any help, they can contact us or anybody that in the contact. Last but not least, I just want to say thank you to Ms. Banda and our community partners, Ms. Jackie Sylvie, because she helped us a lot, and our lovely teammate. Also to shout out to my Nathan Holland, the Big Brothers, he's graduating. So thank you so much for listening. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.
Great job, you guys. I think I love most how connected your team is. I really feel like y'all made a little family together, and I appreciate so much how you took ownership over your organization. Really, really great job. Really nice project. I do think you're right. The events of the world put a little damper on the participation in the survey. And we deployed it a little later in the semester than we had intended to, but I think you still got a lot of really good information out of the participants that did reply to the survey, and I think we can take this and build on it with the community partner in the future. I know when I first started putting some of these service learning projects together, I had no idea that they existed, and listening to everything that they do to help our community, the people that have disabilities, it's amazing the work that they are able to do and the services that they are able to provide. So I think you're right, getting the word out for such a wonderful organization is very meaningful, and is definitely something that our community needs. So really great job, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Cowtown Marathon.
Yeah, we were the Cowtown Marathon Expo Data Team. So our group included Jonathan Dolormente, Emma Hacks, Susanna Lozano, Peter Mayfield, myself, Shalom McGraw, and Abigail Moore. And our goals were pretty straightforward. We basically just went to this marathon and took numbers throughout the day of how many people came in and out of the expo area. Well, actually just in. We didn't count them going out. But so that was Friday and Saturday, February 28th and 29th. Friday, we just did it from around lunchtime to 7 p.m. Saturday was 6 a.m. all the way down to 5 p.m. So yeah, we were tracking the peak times of people entering the expo, and then we analyzed the data so we could make recommendations to them for future marathons. So our population was the attendees on those 2 days, and the parameters, we included everyone, not just athletes. So the general public was also part of our population. Here's the descriptive statistics for Friday. As you can see, we started out the day with high numbers, and as the day went on, it just decreased, a 28% decrease from the first shift to the second. So overall, there were obviously more people throughout the morning hours. And the second day was predictably the same. The highest that we had was on Saturday early morning. But then we immediately saw a 54% decrease the second shift, and then another decrease for the last shift. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward, and it's what I would expect, because usually highly motivated people run marathons, and highly motivated people also wake up really early. So it seemed about right. So lastly, most Saturday attendees visited the expo during the first 3 hours after the first big fall. Oh, so that's what I just said. Sorry about that. So on to our conclusion, and actually Abigail will take over and finish explaining this.
Alrighty, hi guys. So in conclusion, we had Peter Mayfield kind of crunch the numbers for us. So basically, the busy times are less populated than 2,500. We basically came up with a small p-value and had strong evidence to reject the null hypothesis. That was just from like a statistics standpoint. So the highest concentration of people in the expo area tends to be in the earlier hours of the day. We recommend that Heath Alcoin and the runners of the Cowtown Marathon in the future staff more volunteers the mornings of the expo and kind of have it decreasing throughout the day. In the next slide.
Oh, my bad.
So our lesson learned, we just wanted to establish a clear plan for conducting the surveys. That would be the same for everyone. That way, all the data acquired can be easily related and better organized. And I think I can speak for the whole group that we definitely enjoyed this project because we finally got to see math put into real life situations. So thank you, Ms. Shanna, for making everything come to life with math and learning. And this has been a great project for all of us. And that's it.
Awesome, you guys. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. I know you had fun being on site for those particular days. And even for a moment, you became the highly motivated people getting up early in the morning, right, Shiloh? So good job.
Against our will, but yes.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you guys have fun, and I'm glad to hear that this made the math meaningful for you. That is part of the intent of this project, for it to be mutually beneficial to our community partners, but also to make the project beneficial to you guys. So I'm really happy to hear that we accomplished both of those missions with your project. Really, really nice job. Okay, Dreamweavers.
Hi, my name is Rianne Rodriguez, and I was the project manager for the Service Learning Project this semester. Our group worked with the Dreamweavers Foundation, which helps implement more volunteering into middle school and high schools. So the Dreamweavers Foundation was founded in 2006 by Miss Kim Phipps, who once taught at Grand Prairie ISD. Miss Phipps opened the Dreamweavers Foundation to make more volunteer opportunities available to middle and high school students in Arlington and Grand Prairie ISD. Ms. Phipps is currently taking a break on volunteering in order to revamp her business or business plan. We gathered data as a group on the demographics, test scores, and those who get free or reduced lunches within Arlington and Grand Prairie ISD. We analyzed this data to make more volunteer opportunities within the mentioned schools. Our main focus was to make a newer business plan that had more volunteer opportunities available for students to be more active within their communities. In order to gather relevant data for our population of TRIS, we graphed the demographics for both Arlington and the Grand Prairie ISD to get more volunteer activities from our analysis. So from our graphs, you can see the very diverse population within both Arlington and Grand Prairie ISD. We weren't able to gather data specifically off of volunteer things from the middle school and high schools. So we gathered data that was more able to implement volunteer activities into those schools. So the graph here shows the ethnicities, and from seeing this, you can definitely make more volunteer opportunities for students that help embrace their heritage or different, races and things like Cinco de Mayo, Black Heritage Month, and many other things that reflect from the certain ethnicities within these schools. So with our explanation of the data that was represented shows, of course, not only the wide range of diversity, but how you can use this data to incorporate more volunteering. This incorporation will be very beneficial to Ms. Phipps with her foundation, so she can give these schools more volunteer opportunities to help implement what she wants to in faith where she can because of public schools, and to allow more volunteering for these schools. So our conclusion in the population of interest and learning experiences was within our project, the population of interest was not only our obvious focus, but at times it was a bit of a struggle to work with in finding data. After our team worked together, we were able to gather some data that was presentable in a graph, but not all of the data was able to because it was just not all put into the same statistics. So overall, our project was great to see how we can use volunteerism as a serving learning initiative so we can develop cooperation within our group. And it was really exciting to see how we could take knowledge from within the classroom and incorporate it to outside work and see how it really does affect our everyday lives.
Great job, Brianne. I think you guys were able to find some really meaningful information for the two ISDs that Dreamweavers focuses on. So I think describing the population at Arlington ISD and Grand Prairie ISD is given them some information for their business plan moving forward so that you're right, they can build things that are culturally representative of and engaging, right, for those populations. To make sure that within the business plan, they have an idea of how to move forward, right, with implementing some of the volunteerism and the way that they're going to redesign, how DreamWorks is working in the populations that they're helping. So really great job with those descriptions. Now we will move along to Hope Project. We have two last presentations today, so our Hope partners will carry us out today. So we've got our first one here.
So we're doing the Hope Project, and then our group members include Alyssa, Jasmine, Farouk, me, Jasmine, and Claudia.
Okay, so for topic discussion, our organization is a nonprofit agency. They actually help tutor local students around Arlington up to 8th grade. The main goal of this project was collect data from the surveys that were distributed. Originally, they were distributed to tutors. We were actually trying to see how I'm so sorry about that, guys. We were actually trying to see how prepared tutors felt when they were helping students with subjects that they struggled in. But although this was the original topic selection for our agency, we ran into a couple of problems which ultimately led to a different survey. Next slide, please.
So our descriptive statistics. We split it into conflict and result. So initially our goal was to have the parents of the students that are being tutored to take a satisfaction survey to determine whether or not the tutoring was effective. But due to miscommunication with the organization coordinator, a satisfaction survey was made for the tutors. And on the right, we can see that a survey taken by one of the tutors. However, due to the lack of subjects to survey, we were unable to have actual data as we only had 8 tutors So we couldn't do much with that. In addition, our organization partners had a change in staff, so the head coordinator we were contacting with was replaced. There was a lot of confusion as we tried filling the new coordinator in with the information we had, but the corona situation really affected that.
Next slide, please. So ultimately, this made us change our study as a whole, and it took our focus away from how prepared tutors felt to the demographics of the students, what kind of students were coming to tutoring, and things like that. So what we did is, for all of the students that attended tutoring services provided by the Hope Church were recorded for May, we had a total sample size 62. Some of the demographics that we collected from these students is what school they went to, what grade they were in, their gender as well, and what location their tutoring services were at. The point of this survey was to dictate how far students were traveling for tutoring services, and if distance had a role to play in their attendance. Next slide, please.
So the population of interest and the parameter of interest. The population of interest is the group we draw conclusions from, and it's the subset of the general population. And in our case, it includes the parents and the students that attend the different Hope tutoring centers in the Arlington area. The parameter of interest for the parents is the average miles that they travel with their child from the school to the different centers. And then there are 5 centers in the Arlington area, which include the Epworth United Methodist Church, Great Community Baptist Church, First Presbyterian Church, McNutt Elementary, and Good Shepherd Church. The parameter of interest for the students is the proportion between the genders that attend the tutoring sessions and the number of the common grades.
So we have 2 different graphs. The first one is the bar chart that we have, figure 1. It's about Hope tutoring centers and school locations, and their parents driving to these locations. That's the closest one to their child's school. The second figure is just like gender and grade demographic. We did grade levels from 3rd grade all the way to 8th grade. And we saw the most in terms of participation was 3rd grade and 5th grade.
The conclusion for the research conducted made a beneficial impact in the community by expanding the knowledge of the locations throughout the Arlington area, so more students and parents are aware of the opportunities that the Hope organization offers. Does anyone have any questions?
Great job. I'm proud of you for redirecting. I know, our situation, everybody going online, not only impacted us in our class, but also a lot of our community partners. We saw several of our community partners, either their employees were furloughed or the positions changed hands because people had to be let go because doors were closed, and lots of things have happened the last couple of months. And you guys particularly were one of the groups that had to redirect the project to account for some of those changes. And you guys did a really good job, taking what you thought you were going to do and changing it into something else using other data that was still very meaningful to your partner and to our class in general. So really, really great job, you guys. All right. So our concluding presentation for the day, our second group from Hope Tutoring. You guys ready?
Hello, this is Kimberly Lopez. I am the one of the managers, and we did the Hope #2 tutoring geographic study. The things that we cover in this presentation are the topic descriptions, the descriptive statistics and graphs, explanation explanation of data and conclusion on population interest and our learning experiences. For the topic description, the whole project, number 2, is about finding churches within walking distance of elementary schools in low-income areas of Arlington, as well as for looking for nearby possible sponsors, such as like small businesses. Population of interest were the elementary schools, churches within walking distance, and possible nearby sponsors. The parameter of interest was the average amount of elementary school students and the average walking time from school to church.
Good afternoon. Jumping right into our statistics and graphs. To the left, you will see our elementary schools and the populations we were able to find. And to the right, you will see the walking distances from 18 different organizations and churches near our sample schools.
Here look like a screenshot of like the like a large map where we had like the churches, the sample schools that were provided to us by the director, and the possible sponsors, which were the business and organizations.
Jumping right into our explanation of data, the sample data had the data we collected was the following: elementary schools, churches, and possible organizations near the tutoring center, as well as walking distances between our sample schools and organizations. We came up with the confidence interval in our sample data, which was the walking distances between the schools and organizations of potential tutoring centers. The sample data had a mean of 5.6 minutes of walking distance and a standard deviation of 2.4 minutes, all within a margin of error of 0.63.
For conclusion, we concluded that there were 18 churches and organizations within walking distance of the 5 sample schools. We were 95% confident that it would take the average student to arrive at a potential tutoring center between 5 to 7 minutes. And we applied these skills that we had learned in class to real life by actually like doing something for like the director for the church had asked us to do, for us to find out like the time that it would take for a child to walk to the church. It seemed like we were actually doing like we were having an impact on like the community and like a project that would actually be used to help like these children who were like needing that help. And the impact that that will have on the community, it seems like it will be important. We unfortunately weren't able to do like the volunteering hours because of the COVID-19. We really wish we had been able to, because it would have been like more like hands-on, like a more personal impact with like the children.
And that is it for our presentation, and thank you so much.
Great job, you guys. I know that several of you weren't able to do all of your volunteerism, and some of you got it done before spring break, and then some of you weren't able to get it done, which means that just gives you something that you can strive to do later, even outside of our class, right? So I think lots of you have learned the importance of civil engagement and volunteerism in our community, and working together to serve our community. And so that's a really great point to end on today. Even though we were disappointed that we couldn't work with them this semester, I still think that you guys made the best of the situation, and you were able to provide some really meaningful results to all of your partners. So congratulations on a job well done. As we end today, I also want to recognize a couple of guests that have joined us for our class today. My partner in crime, Miss Alice Luby, is on today. Thank you, Mrs. Luby, for joining. This service learning idea was mostly your brainchild, and I have really enjoyed working together with you as a friend and a colleague to put all of this together. So thank you for being with us today to celebrate our good work and for walking alongside me for this journey. I also want to say special thank you to Susan Dekiant, who is the director of the service learning department here at UT Arlington as part of Faculty Affairs. Thank you, Susan, for your support throughout the years and for all of the resources that you provide to make these classes happen. We couldn't do all of this without you. So thank you for being with us today, both of you, and thank you both for all of your support.